Earth did not begin as a world. It began as a question, a mystery forged in darkness, born from the ashes of dying stars. Before there were oceans, mountains, clouds, forests, or creatures, there was only fire, only chaos, only drifting fragments of cosmic debris circling a newborn sun, waiting to collide, shatter, fuse, and collide again. But from this violence, something extraordinary was preparing to emerge. A molten sphere that would cool into continents. A raging sky that would one day cradle rain. A world that would grow lungs, breathe air, raise oceans, sculpt mountains, and eventually create life. Not once, not twice, but millions of times, until the impossible creatures called humans would walk its surface and look back at the stars that forged them. This is the story of Earth. Not just a planet, but a survivor of cosmic catastrophe. A miracle of chemistry, a canvas for evolution, a world that learned to build oceans, weave DNA, and ignite consciousness. Before we begin this journey through billions of years of transformation, take a moment to like this video, subscribe, and share it with someone who loves exploring the mysteries of our universe. Your support helps bring more incredible stories like this to life. Now, let us travel back in time, farther than human memory, farther than fossils, farther even than the planet itself. Back to when everything we know was only dust drifting through the void. Act 1. Stardust and Fire. The birth of Earth. Long before Earth existed, the universe was full of stars that lived and died in spectacular explosions. When these stars collapsed, they scattered their elements. Iron, carbon, silicon, gold. Across space like glitter from a shattered mirror. From these remains, a new story began. Around 4.6 billion years ago, a massive cloud of gas and dust spiraled inward under the pull of gravity. As it collapsed, it flattened into a swirling disk, with the young sun blazing at its center like a furnace. Inside the spinning disk, dust grains collided. Some stuck together, others shattered. But over millions of years, the survivors grew. Pebbles became rocks. Rocks became mountains. Mountains became embryonic planets. One of these growing worlds would become Earth. It began as a molten sphere, glowing red with heat from continuous impacts. Every second, new boulders the size of cities slammed into its surface, melting it over and over until the entire planet became an ocean of magma. Hot, violent, and unstable, but this chaos wasn't the end. It was the beginning of structure. Inside this fiery ball, the heavy elements, iron and nickel, sank toward the center, forming Earth's core. The lighter materials rose, forming the mantle and eventually the crust. Earth was learning to shape itself, but it was still incomplete. Someone was coming. The collision that created the Moon. Around 30 to 50 million years after Earth formed, another infant planet moved silently through the early solar system. Scientists call it Theia. It was roughly the size of Mars, and its orbit crossed dangerously close to Earth's. For countless years, the two worlds danced around each other, their paths drifting a little more with every rotation. And then, inevitably, they collided. The impact was so violent it vaporized entire sections of the planet. Mountains melted. Oceans of magma splashed into space. Both planets were torn open like cracked shells. But from this destruction came one of Earth's greatest gifts. Material blasted into space began to gather. Dust and molten rock swirled together in orbit, cooling and clumping until, slowly, a glowing sphere took shape. The Moon was born. It drifted outward, stabilizing Earth's rotation and calming its violent wobble. Seasons became predictable. Climate patterns slowly settled. Without the Moon, Earth would have been a world of chaos. Wild, unpredictable, too unstable for life to flourish. But with the Moon came rhythm, cycles, tides, a cosmic partnership that would last billions of years. Earth was no longer just a sphere of fire. It was becoming a world. Oceans from the sky, the great rainfall, As Earth cooled, volcanic eruptions belched water vapor, carbon dioxide, and other gases into the sky. For millions of years, clouds thickened, darkened, and swelled above a crust still glowing with heat. Then something extraordinary happened. It rained. And it did not stop for thousands of years. Rain fell with the force of oceans from the sky. It hissed on hot rock, forming steam that rose and condensed and fell again. Cracks filled with water. Basins deepened into valleys. And slowly, gradually, oceans were born. The first seas were nothing like the blue waters we know today. They were rust-colored, filled with dissolved iron and metals. Meteorites continued to strike, delivering carbon, nitrogen, and organic molecules, essential ingredients for future life. Above it all, Earth's magnetic field, powered by its molten iron core, shielded the atmosphere from the destructive solar wind. Without this protection, Earth might have lost its air before life even began. But Earth held on. It endured, prepared. Now it had water, it had rock, it had protection. Something new was about to emerge. Act 4. Land of volcanoes and black smokers. As the surface cooled further, volcanic islands emerged from the oceans like newborn continents. Lava hardened into rock. Minerals collected in tidal pools. Lightning crackled across the sky, fueling chemical reactions. Then, at the ocean floor, something unexpected happened. Black smokers, hydrothermal vents, began pumping superheated water filled with iron, sulfur, and minerals into the cold surrounding depths. These vents were unlike anything else on Earth. No sunlight, no oxygen, no plants. But inside their mineral-rich chimneys, chemical reactions produced energy that could be captured by simple molecules. Warmth, chemistry, constant motion. These were the ingredients nature needed. And in the shallow pools along volcanic shores, tides came and went, concentrating molecules into thick, sticky soups. Every wave mixed the ingredients a little more. Every tide created new combinations. The stage was set for the next great leap. Act 5, the first spark of life. Life did not begin with a single moment of magic. It began with millions of small accidents, chemical reactions that repeated over and over until one of them managed to copy itself. The first molecules of life were fragile, imperfect, and limited, but they could replicate, and that changed everything. At first, they made mistakes, lots of them, but evolution thrives on mistakes. Each error created a variation. Some variations survived better than others. Slowly, chains of molecules grew longer. They folded into complex shapes. They learned to use energy from their environment. Then came membranes, thin bubbles of fat that enclosed these tiny replicators. Inside these bubbles, chemistry became more organized. Protection gave them stability. These were the first cells. Earth had given birth to life, and life was ready to grow. Act 6, the age of microscopic empires. For billions of years, life remained small, microscopic, invisible to the naked eye. But in their tiny world, cells were locked in an epic struggle for survival. Some learned to eat sunlight. These early photosynthetic organisms used sunlight to create energy, releasing oxygen as a byproduct. At first, this oxygen reacted with iron in the oceans, forming rust that sank to the seafloor. Layer after layer of iron formations built up, marking the earliest signs of oxygen production. But eventually, the oceans could absorb no more. Oxygen began to escape into the atmosphere. And nothing on Earth would ever be the same. Act 7, the Great Oxygenation Event. Oxygen was a gift and a curse. To early life, oxygen was toxic. It destroyed delicate molecules. It burned through fragile cells. But it also offered something incredible, a way to produce far more energy than ever before. Some cells evolved a solution. They learned to use oxygen instead of avoiding it. They evolved structures called mitochondria, little power stations that transformed oxygen into fuel. Where others died, these oxygen-using cells thrived. Then something extraordinary happened. One cell swallowed another cell, and instead of digesting it, they formed an alliance. The swallowed cell became a permanent resident, providing energy. The host cell provided protection. This collaboration created the first complex cells, the ancestors of every plant, animal, and fungus on Earth. Life had taken another leap. Act 8. Multicellular life. The first creatures. Once cells learned to work together, evolution accelerated. Groups of cells formed tissues. Tissues formed organs. Organs formed creatures. The oceans filled with soft-bodied organisms. Worms, sponges, fronds waving like alien gardens. Then came predators. One bite changed evolution forever. Creatures began to develop muscles, eyes, nerves, and shells. Hunting sparked innovation, and innovation sparked complexity. Life became a world of competition and creativity. Evolution exploded. Act 9. The Great Expansion. Animals take over. Over the next hundreds of millions of years, life diversified into every shape imaginable. Creatures with eyes like crystals and legs like springs. Animals with armor plates, spikes, frills, and fins that glowed like jewels. Fish developed jaws. Some grew enormous. Others shrank to hide among rocks. Eventually, some creatures began exploring shallow waters. They developed stronger fins, thicker skin, and lungs that allowed them to gulp air. Slowly, the ocean prepared to send its children onto land. Act 10. The first steps on land. Around 400 million years ago, the greatest migration in life's history began. Plants colonized damp shorelines. Insects followed. Amphibians crawled onto muddy banks. The first forests rose like green cathedrals. Life was no longer confined to the sea. As evolution continued, creatures developed scales, waterproof eggs, and powerful legs. Adaptations that freed them from water entirely. Reptiles took over. Then dinosaurs. Then birds. Then mammals. Earth had become a world filled with ecosystems, diversity, and endless adaptation. Act 11. Earth's memory. Every mountain is a page. Every rock layer is a paragraph. Every fossil is a sentence in Earth's autobiography. From molten chaos to blue oceans. From raindrops to RNA. From cells to creatures. From extinction to evolution. The story of Earth is written in stone. But even after 4.5 billion years, one final mystery remains. Why does energy move the way it does? Why do the laws of nature permit life at all? Why does order rise from chaos? We know the facts. We see the evidence. But the ultimate why remains hidden, woven into the fabric of the universe. The story is not finished. The questions continue. And the journey of discovery has only just begun.